Hello, America. This is Dorian Thompson. I want to talk to you about a couple key issues that are facing our country today. We have been, over the past month, we've seen a debate about our school safety and gun control face our nation again. I want to first talk about school safety. Let me be clear. No child in the United States of America or the world should ever have to fear to go to school. We protect our banks, we protect our sometimes grocery stores, our jewelry stores, our NBA arenas, our hockey arenas, our football stadiums, the White House, and other places with high population volumes or very important people. What's different from a school that's a high population place and our children are important people because these kids are the future of our country. We need to be strategic when it comes to protecting our schools. The first thing I think what needs to happen is we have seen the President Trump talk about proposing that have some staff members in the school who are trustworthy, who go through background checks, who go through training yearly, be able to, if willingly, carry a weapon on school grounds so that in the event something happens, they can be the people to secure the school. I do think that that is a good proposal because sometimes we have school districts that can't afford a security force like my school did and that can have a school resource officer. We do need to check into it and allow all different school districts and different communities and the states decide if that would be a best route for them. So basically, you pay a staff member who signs up extra $10,000 a year to protect the school in the event of something happens. You pay a couple of them. So instead of paying $60,000, $70,000 per security guard at each school, you could cut the cost and be physically responsible and have some staff members that you already trust to be with children 8 hours of the day to also help protect the schools on their own behalf. The second thing we should be focusing on is we should also have an emergency button in each classroom that the staff and even some students should know about. So in the event of something happens, we could sometimes you can have people call 911, but sometimes that's not quick enough. But if you do hear the sound of a weird sound and the sound of gun violence in the school, you can press this button and have police and other forces come very quickly. Another thing we should be focusing on is most schools have this, but for some schools that don't, have buzzers, have security cameras in the school, and there needs to be active shooting trainings in each school because this is not going to stop. This is still going to happen, but we need to be strategic and smart about this. We also need to invest more in, especially in education, mental health. We really need to because folks can tell. The people in the United States are very smart. People can tell when someone's not as normal as others. And we also need to change the culture in our schools because a lot of times these kids, when they go shoot up their school, they were not the most popular kids in the world. They weren't the people a bunch of kids went to go sit and eat lunch with. We've got to be more opening and welcoming in our country. We have this culture of divisiveness. We have this culture of hate and different kinds of just unwanted and just rude behavior in our country, and that plays a part on someone's mental state. Now I want to talk about the gun control debate. We've seen again after the past shooting in Parkland, Florida. A gun control debate, and I've heard things, people talking about banning all guns, banning bump stock, banning AR-15s, and I'm for banning the bump stock because there's really no need for it. But you got to remember, to the folks who talk about banning all guns and banning different types of guns, you got to remember something. We need to be smart and strategic. That might be a great sugarcoat. That might be a great, cover up of the problem, but it really won't actually fully handle the problem. Because you got to remember, when people talk about something like Australia is surrounded by water. Not unlike the United States, we have Mexico and Canada. And we already have a problem with Mexico bringing things in. Not the country of Mexico, some drug cartel. Do you not think they're not going to bring in guns if it's a hot market? They're going to bring in all types of weapons and armory, everything. They're going to bring in ammunition because it'll be a moneymaker. Because I guarantee you, someone who can't access a gun legally will try to get that gun illegally. Because they're going to commit a crime like that. They don't give two craps about, going on the black market and obtaining a gun illegally. Believe me. The second thing we need to do is we need to be smart on our borders. We need to, because like I said, if someone can sure as heck smuggle something in from not just even Mexico, even Canada. I live in Metro Detroit area. I have, you can have a boat on the Detroit Marina, on the river, and go over to Canada and load up, and then might not even get caught. So we need to be smart on our borders and be making sure we have the technology in place to see what people are bringing in and, invest in this 21st century technology. Another thing we need to do is we need to update these systems that have failed. I think there needs to be a commission investigating on how this event and other events have happened where people have gotten a weapon when they never should have. And we also need to update our no-fly list because no one in America should ever be able to buy a weapon if they're on the no-fly list. But there's a problem with the no-fly list. There's no due process on it, and sometimes people who should not be on it end up on it. Like I think Congressman John Lewis and other members of Congress have ended up on it for no reason. So that needs to be updated, and there needs to be a more efficient way of adding people on the no-fly list with due process so we can ban people who are on the no-fly list to not be able to purchase a weapon. Because if you're on the no-fly list or terrorist, threats and other odd activity, you should not ever buy a weapon. Ever. So, and again, to talk about this banning on guns, and, I've seen so much blame at NRA, I've seen blame at Republicans, I've seen blame at the president, the governor. We need to stop blaming everyone else. We need to blame a couple things. We need to blame the shooter, Nicholas Cruz. We need to blame the Broward County Sheriffs because when that kid gets called on gets a cop called on 39 times, nothing happens. The school has recommended mental health treatment for him, and he's still able to get a weapon. It was their job to report this. The FBI needs to be investigated because you know what? For the FBI to even receive a tip, like the FBI received tips in the past about the Orlando shooter, they've been dropping the ball way too much. People's lives are at stake. They take an oath to uphold the Constitution and to protect the people of this country and their state, and we are just not, and they're not producing for us as they should be. I also think what we need to do is, like I said, we do need to expand on background checks. We do need to expand on that Stop the School Violence Act but that bill, the Stop School Violence Act, that's a stepping stone. There's much more we need to do. There's much more that we need to be able to accomplish. So I hope and I pray that one day we can live in a country where no child is afraid to live in schools. And I applaud the children of Parkland, Florida, for making their voices heard. I disagree with a lot of what they say, but they are taking a stand on something that they believe is right. But I think there's some opposite directions that we should be taking what they're proposing. This country is a great country. It really is. And we really do need to change the culture of this country because many people in this country see nothing but divisiveness, hate feeling, murder and other things. Do you not think that affects the human brain? Do you not think that makes someone feel, if I see nothing but murder on TV all day long, if I see nothing but murder, that sometimes, I'm not going to say it happens all the time, but sometimes it might have an effect on someone like this. So we really do need to go back to changing the culture. We really need to work on ways to keep families together. We need to work on ways to make sure that kids are not growing up without their parents and the love and affection that they need to grow, because they do need to grow. There's a lot of things with this epidemic. It is not just, it's not the NRA. It's growing. It's mental health. It's this bad culture that we have of divisiveness and hate. And it's just a mix of other things. So instead of talking about the NRA and what the NRA does and calling it a terrorist organization, let's remember something here, guys. There's no member of the NRA who's tried to kill anybody, and or mass people. I can't say kill anyone, but we do need to be strategic, stop sugarcoating things, and actually focus on the problems that are hurting our country. Thank you. God bless you all, and God bless America.